All right, today's PSA is regarding the mounting of a Trijicon RMR HD RMR onto the Archon Type B. We're going to go over what kind of screws, how far we're going down there, what we got to look out for, all kinds of technical stuff, because there's been a lot of bad information or lack of information out there on how to mount these things correctly. Now, let's just start with the screw. From the factory, the Archon Type B and the RMR is cut for 6/32 thread pitch. And what's really important, because if you can see inside, this is where the, let's see, what's the actual technical part? If you look in your owner's manual, it's number 43, and it's called the firing pin guide sleeve. The firing pin guide sleeve goes through that channel, and you can see how much room you have to work with. Basically, if the screw goes down into that channel, the sleeve won't function, and you could possibly damage that sleeve. We have seen that before. So that's the main thing you got to look out for. People will take a screw that's 12 millimeters long, just like on a Glock or another gun. They got a lot of slide metal to work with, and it goes down into that channel. That's a problem. So how do you solve that? Well, 3/8 an inch, or let me zero this out, or if you like metric. So we know the thread pitch is 6/32, and we're at 9.55 millimeter. Now if I just hit, that's 3/8 an inch. 3/8 an inch, okay? So 6/32, 3/8, and it is countersunk. It has to be countersunk. That's a standard countersink angle of 82 degrees, okay? That's called a standard 82 degrees, best of my knowledge. And you'll find them in hex, and you'll find them also in the 6-lobe, known as the Torx, okay? So that's the screw you want to use, no longer than that. What this will give you is almost 3.5 full 360 degrees turns. So you're going to get 3.5 threads into the slide before it goes into that channel, okay? Now, if you're doing these screws on your own, you're dremeling or sanding them down, you can have this one 10.5 on the right side. But when we provide these screws, we're not going to do them in two different sizes, because if you look, you can see how much more room you have to work with, because this channel for the extractor and the extractor spring is lower. So you could put a much longer screw in the right, as you're looking at the gun, pointing the gun, looking down the bore, down the sights the correct way. That's the right side, left side. So this right side screw could be a lot longer. Also, you will notice that with, this is a Hollison and Shield sights cut gun, we're able to use the bosses that come up, and that'll give you even more threads. But that'll be a separate video on mounting that. So when you see this one with the RMR and it looks a little bit different, and why in the beginning Range 6 did not do those cuts, we really do them if someone really, really wants it. And now obviously the factory's doing them, but we've shied away for it for a couple of reasons, and let's get into that. It is a good solution now. It's a much better solution than we've ever had before. So the RMR and the taper of the slide here on the Archon Type B, you can see that you're right on the edge with those screw holes. And you couldn't put a boss sticking up, which didn't give us another 1.5 threads basically to screw the optic in there. And without a good cover plate mating it, or an anti-flicker plate, which we'll cover in a second, you'll be able to see. So you lose the waterproofing because you can see the battery there. Unlike the SRO, there is no gasket around the entire optic here. So how do you solve that? The reason why we kind of shied away from RMR in the beginning is because, hey, it's not, you know what? You probably want to see this angle. It's a pretty good fit. It doesn't hang over much, but in that gap right there, that's where you lose your waterproofing. And here's how we basically solve that. So the gasket actually is right around the battery, but unfortunately, when you look, you can see the gasket, it outlines the battery. It's a little bit different than the way the SRO does it, as far as I remember. but looking in here, you can see the battery still. That would have been the issue. So, anti-flicker plate. I don't know how thick that is. Let me measure it real quick. I should probably know this. Let's see. So 1/64th. We're going to add basically a 1/64th height to this. And what that does is make sure the battery sticks up there, because there were some issues in, you know, the Gen 1, whatever guns. But most importantly, it's going to engage that gasket. Let me get the battery back in there. Okay, get this mounted on there the right way. Now we're going to have it waterproofed, because that plate, so when we're sending out guns with RMR cuts, they are indeed shipping with the anti-flicker plate. We won't send it out without that. Otherwise, you may be believing, and you may not have seen that the battery is showing, and then you're using your gun in the water, taking advantage of that awesome Trijicon specs, but not realizing that, yeah, you're going to destroy your optics. So there you go. Here it is mounted. You can now, as I kick the camera, you can't see the battery anymore. Obviously, the plate is up on the gasket. Good to have the peace of mind of an anti-flicker functionality in that also, but that is a mounted RMR on Archon Type B. And if you're wondering, since we're doing this, might as well show you this. What height does that sight need to be? And this is, it's a little bit less than it might be about a bottom 1/3, a little bit less than that. We try to keep them low profile. I'm going to give you that sight height that you're going to need, because the stock sights, you're not going to co-witness. 23/64 or 9mm. So from here to here, you're at a 9mm sight height, or 0.355 inches. That's the sight height you're going to be looking for. Okay, and when we do that to this gun, we're using the night sights by Night Vision, which have worked out really, really great. All right, so there you go. That's how you mount your RMR to your Archon Type B. Thanks for watching. Take care.